They have become rich and powerful and have grown fat and sleek. Their evil deeds have no limit, and that's no exaggeration. What these people do behind closed doors also is horrific. But they themselves are merely lieutenants of something higher, of more insidious hierarchs that work from behind the scenes. But again, I want to emphasize the disguised sadism of all of this. And anyway, most of Christianity most of religion is merely disguised sadism. Turn the other cheek, bless those who hurt you, martyrdom to the endless needs of others. What is all of that? That's not healthy. But you just put a little smoke screen on it. The image of the Christ that they're using, dying hideously, tortured on the cross, which they've just again ingratiated you with the Jesuit crony, Mel Gibson, pushing that image down your throat, because it's based on these complexes of consciousness and the sadism that is lurking in the limbic realms of all people. That's how they earn their daily bread. And that sadism is in evidence all around us. But you see, what we do is we act sadistically and say, but don't blame me. I was taking orders. Blame them. And then you go further up and it's go, no, but don't blame me. I received it from up there. What are you talking about? I'm not sadistic. Because as long as we are slaves to the master, we can always blame the master. The master goes, that's right, that's right. You're off the hook, you see. You have immunity because you have given me your allegiance. So you can go out there also and create horrors in my name, and I'll take the blame. And you know something? The ego is well happy to do that. So we have healthy and unhealthy forms of rebellion. But as any Aquarian will only be too happy to tell you, their sign and their planet Uranus is connected to rebellion. But then so must Pluto be, because Pluto is closely connected to Aquarius, you see? Now, this spirit of rebellion happens to have been quite conspicuous in the world since the discovery of the planet Pluto, has it not? You see, the Mikhail Bakunins and the other forms of rebellion and revolution and anarchy that you have in the world, they couldn't really exist too openly in the Victorian age. It's been since the discovery of Pluto that this has been moving in the world. You couldn't have a Woodstock, you see, and a hippie movement and all of these things. Those are all symptoms of a new paradigm. But the thing is that the kind of rebellion born from reaction will not avail true change. It is merely a temporary personal and social alleviation. In the movie, always jumps to my mind, Quadrophenia, there is the analysis, if I might say, beautiful treatment of the true spirit of rebellion. Where you have the person who is thinking that he's going to be unique because he's a mod. I don't want to be like everybody else. That's why I'm a mod, see? Then he wakes up to find out that, look, being a mod means that you have no identity. And this person finally works it all out and realizes he's not independent. And so in his personal drama, he breaks through the lie of identification, you see. In that movie, they show you the identification of the object of hate, and they also show the act of rebellion and the fiction of that, and how this person then incredibly passes through and discovers his own androgyny and his own mastery. A tremendous treatment of the positive side of rebellion by people who understood not to buy into all the lie. Because then you've got a mod, then you've got the rockers, you see? Right away, you've got the conflict again. And this person wakes up to see it and acknowledge it. But the rest of us, we're just happy with the rebellion. Because we never forget that Father also has our money bags in his hand. So we need a kind of a topical alleviation occasionally. Like things like the Burning Man Festival. They appear to be, the counterculture, but you'll find very, very few aware people there. Really, when it comes down to it. You'll find lots of rebels with a small r. But you will find very people who have a faintest idea of how to really change the system. As we said, there's a deep connection between Pluto and Uranus, Scorpio and Aquarius, and this act of rebellion, the spirit of rebellion, is coming in with Pluto. So if the astrological jargon is, hard to get your mind around, don't worry. Pluto represents an act of true holistic rebellion against all that is punitive and corrupt. But as we just saw in the video clip, That rides against the establishment. And it's an old story. Martin Luther, the founder of Protestantism, says nothing is more poisonous, harmful, or devilish than a man in rebellion. Christianity and these organizations, these organized religions, as well as the corporate dominance and governments, they're there to erase your spirit of rebellion. That's their modus operandi. That's why they exist. They don't exist to take you to God or to heaven. There's very few enlightened people in Christianity, if you haven't noticed. There's very few enlightened people anywhere in the world, including on the banks of the Ganges. But what there is conformity, violence, subservience to tradition, an untold sadism to the self and to others. And there is the obvious control and subjugation of the true spirit of rebellion. Aldous Huxley, and he should know because he was one of the people devising ways to keep people down, he said, "It is perfectly possible for a man to be out of prison and yet not free. To be under no physical constraint and yet to be psychologically captive, compelled to think, feel, and act as the representatives of the national state or of some private interest within the nation wants him to think, feel, and act. The nature of psychological compulsion is such that those who act under constraint remain under the impression that they are acting of their own initiative." And that's key. The victim of mind manipulation does not know that he is a victim. To him, the walls of his prison are invisible, and he believes himself to be free. That he is not free is only apparent to other people. His servitude is strictly objective. You see, anybody here has actually had to deal with psychotic people or schizophrenics or people? It's very difficult to tell those people that their thinking is deranged. They think they're perfectly normal. Partly, as I said, they've adjusted to reality as they see it, so they're not wholly to blame. But even in the worst chronic syndrome, you will find that you're wasting your time. You could roll out your soul like a red carpet and they'll walk right on it. Because they are thinking you're the dummy. You're the dumbass. You got it wrong. Charles T. Tart called it consensus trance. In short, I would say if it's not in the media, then most people think it didn't happen. Because they don't know what's going on in the other state or whatever. And if you came and told them, they probably think you're a crank and wouldn't believe it. But you put it on CNN and it happened. And conversely, if it did not happen, but is in the media, we believe it happened. The moon landing, for instance. Guess what? It didn't happen. Now, Edward Bernays, a master of propaganda and control of the human race, said, if we understand the mechanism and motives of the group mind, it is now possible to control and regiment the masses according to our will without them knowing it. It's not free and enlighten the masses he's talking about. No. These guys don't want to have anything to do with that. They're busy spending money to control and regiment the masses according to our will without them knowing it. As John D. Rockefeller said, people are yielding themselves with perfect docility to our molding hands. Bernays went on to say, the conscious and intelligent manipulation of organized habits and opinions of the masses is an important element in a democratic society. Those who manipulate this unseen mechanism of society constitute an invisible government, which is the true ruling power in our country. We are governed, our minds are molded, our tastes formed, our ideas suggested, largely by men we have never heard of. We are dominated by a relatively small number of persons. It is they who pull the wires which control the public mind and who harness social forces and contrive new ways to bind and guide the world. Erich Fromm, in his Anatomy of Human Destructiveness, a book I wish everybody would read, the sick individual finds himself at home with all other similarly sick individuals. The whole culture is geared to this kind of pathology. The result is that the average individual does not experience the separateness and isolation the fully schizophrenic person feels. He feels at ease amongst those who suffer from the same deformation. In fact, it is the fully sane person who feels isolated in the insane society. And he may suffer so much from the incapacity to communicate that it is he who may become psychotic. And haven't we all experienced that? From the time we were born, I assume everyone in this room has experienced that. And I would also say this, that if you are sane enough to see the insanity, that's a damn good sign, because it means you're not insane. So as bad as it is to feel bad about the things that are happening, look at the bright side, you can see it. It's they live. When in group narcissism, says Erich Fromm, the object is not the individual, but the group to which he belongs. The assertion that my country or nation or religion is the most wonderful, the most cultural, the most powerful, the most peace-loving, does not sound